Yeah, I was going to say, obviously, in terms of the Orville itself, season three on Hulu, New Horizons, and as of when we're recording this, like A Tale of Two Topas, which is a big Bortus episode, that's the most recent one as of when we're speaking. Next one isn't out yet, but I
Yeah.
suppose like your main scene partners in that episode, Chad Coleman, Adrian Palicki, Imani, who plays Topa. Like, how did you find working with each of them in that episode?
Well, as I said, Chad and Chad, we kind of have like we have a simpatico, and it's great. We've been dancing these characters and developing these characters since since season one. And
Yeah.
Adrian, and I love working with Adrian, and she's a pro, and she's like just a very generous actor,
Yeah.
and just very present and there. You know what I mean? And and she's fearless and so fun. Like, we have some great stuff coming up, and Imani is just a gem. I mean,
Yeah.
she is so, I won't say pure, because that's just a weird thing to say about somebody, but like, she has like this purity of spirit that
Okay.
just holds everything together in like the Topa's journey from infancy to now. Like, she, because this is like she's like the third actor to play the
Yeah,
role.
yeah. Because a baby, then like a younger
Then like,
child, right? And then
right.
Imani. Yeah.
So she's like embodying and like holding all of that, and the fact that you could just, I mean, just like in her performance, I'm like, I know that that you were born female, but you were like walking around as a male, and you wanted to, and so all this stuff, and before she even realized it, I mean, she's just she holds all of that
Yeah.
together so beautifully, and it just makes it so easy to be her father, right? And like, I think that having my own children
Yeah.
does
Yeah.
has a lot of, like, a lot of things opened up with me as a
Plays into it, kind of. Yeah.
person, like, to understand what's happening, or to have access to what's happening.
Yeah.
um, but she gives, like, she's a great listener, and so all the colors and nuance that I'm thinking about, she picks up on. Do you know what I mean? We play in that space, which is, that's an actor's dream, to like,
For
to
sure.
play, to be able to play, to actually play in front of the camera your,
Yeah.
not your subconscious, but like the unsaid,
Yeah.
very much like a Chekhov or a Pinter play, right? Where
Yeah.
he's, so much of what is being presented is what's not being said. Do you know what I mean?
Like
And
subtext, or kind of, or like
subtext,
kind of between the
subtext,
lines. Yeah.
between the lines business, right? Like, what they're thinking about, what their inner conflict is all about. We sort of,
Yeah.
I feel like we ping off of each other in this way, in this unspoken way, right?
Yeah.
So there's this, like, there's this subtle, nuancy, infused connection that
Yeah.
gets captured gets captured
Yeah.
in photography.
She knocked it out the park. Yeah, in that episode.
Oh, oh
Absolutely.
man, oh
Killed
man,
it.
it's only gonna get better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I would love to have a chat with you once
Mm.
all is said and done, and then we can really fully talk about everything, because it's like,
Yeah.
I don't, the stuff I can't talk about, and I don't want to talk
Of
about. I
course.
want it
Yeah.
to be a
Yeah.
surprise.
Yeah.
You know what I
No.
mean?
Yeah.
But there's so much more to talk about, and believe it or not, with this, as much as we've been, jabbering on about this, there's a whole nother, I would say, 2/3, you know, um, to wrap up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe, or maybe just another full fatty fat, third, to really, unpack and dive deep into, because, you know, um, like, I would say the beginning of, you know, Bortus, or the Mocklin trajectory, really fully sort of settled in with, I mean, yeah, you hear about the guy who lays an egg. Okay,
Right.
what's that? right?
Yeah.
And then it's comical to see like a naked guy on an egg,
Yeah. That
but then
quirky kind of. Yeah.
yeah, and then you find out that the guy's mate from an all male planet was born a female. Boom, drop mic, right?
Yeah.
And then it kind of goes away in the background for again, and then it comes back in the episode 3, and then the conflict begins with Clyden and Bortus about like their choices about what Topa's sex should be, and then so that starts the rift of where it brings them apart. So I'm saying all to say that it's all gonna come around,
Yeah.
and book it's gonna, because that's just out there, like you can't leave that hanging, you can't,
Yeah.
so, like Clyden's left,
Yeah.
you can't just leave that hanging, right? That's not good storytelling. You can't create such a conflict and then not resolve it, or yeah, in some way or other. And so it's all gonna, so we'll have a chat in a couple of months, and
Yeah.
and then just to see what, because the arc of the whole story will be out there, and as far as I know, that's it. So unless there's, I mean,
Yeah.
I would love there to be more, but
Mm.
I'm just going by what is right.
Mm.
um, but yeah, they're
Yeah.
it's just great. I mean, it's a great, I mean, and I would even then say I can't wait for everything to air, because then I'll binge watch,
Yeah.
all 30. I'll just take a weekend, you know what I mean, and just watch everything all over again, because I've not done that. I've gone back and watched a couple of episodes here and there,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
I kind of watch them and just kind of marinate on them, and I look forward to watching all 3 seasons back to back. Just like,
Yeah.
yeah, you know, um,
Yeah, I mean, kind of what I was saying at the start of like, planting seeds early on, and then kind of, and you also mentioned it, kind of then, setting things up, and then in later episodes, later seasons, kind of going back to those stories and like, paying off what had been previously established, and I mean, I think the whole thing with Bortus and Topa is probably one of the earliest examples of that. There was episode 2 when Bortus said he was laying the egg, and the whole series, and then here we are now, or something like
yeah,
that. Yeah,
I think, yeah, I mean, I feel like it might have been episode 2, because we're just, and yeah, like the pilot, we're just introducing the characters,
yeah,
and and you find out that he does lay eggs, right?
yeah,
And that's it. You know what I mean? And then, like when we come back, he's like, yeah, I'm about to lay, I'm about to lay this egg, and I need 3 weeks off.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Oh crap!
yeah,
I lost you. Oh, there. Okay, sorry. Um, anyway, yeah.
yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, and obviously, like your on-screen family, you mentioned it's hard, even though I disagree with Clyde, and it's hard to like hate the character, because I like Chad Coleman as an actor. I've seen him in many other things. So it's
Yeah.
difficult to like dislike the character, even though I disagree with what he's saying. I guess that's testament to his likability in other roles, to kind of like
Well,
not make Clyden completely
well, I mean,
irredeemable.
no, I mean, and that's not fair, because I mean, it's not fair to make Clyden irredeemable. Like, it's
Yeah.
easy. It's so easy to, dislike Clyden, but at the end of the day, you have to realize that Clyden is just being like
Yeah.
true
Well,
to his species,
it's what
right?
he knows. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's who he is, and like, so like there is like this whole notion that I sort of struggle with about like the planetary union being sort of human centrist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, where it's like, or that like the morality pendulum sort of swings in favor of like this notion of coexistence based upon a very human idea, right? Like, which is not bad, but at the same time, you can't. I mean, and that's a conflict, right? How do you really fully? I mean, it's the same with the krill, right? I mean, it's like, how do
Yeah.
you
Yeah. Yeah.
fully coexist with a species? Some of it has to be on their terms, right? Some of it has
Yeah.
to be,
Yeah.
you have to be willing to accept Avis as, like, just like we have to be willing to accept Mormons and Quakers and Baptists and Catholics. Do you know what I mean? When you know, but then when the world is filled with like Hindis and you know, people who are like Muslims, and we have to like, so in order to really fully and still love them, right? We still have to like, and even if it's a matter of I agree to disagree with you, but I still love you, right? I mean, so like, and it gets like again like sort of on this macro space with Clyden, because it's like, well, now you're bringing in the notion where a person is so ingrained in their beliefs,
right,
that they will leave their right. So before we sort of shit on Clyden, like we have to remember that it's not easy for him either to you know, it must be quite painful for you to leave your child, right? And it's like, but because you know the Planetary Union, the Orville, the crew of the Orville, Bortus, Mercer were on the side of Topa's individuality. You know, we like, so we really got to be careful about who like taking sides, right? Because it's not, it's got to, it must be, you know, like it must be incredibly painful for someone to leave their mate and their child based on like the core value of their belief system, right? And if we are really trying to say, hey, come one, come all species are welcome, then we really have to take that into account and not just be like, oh, Clyde's an asshole, da da da. No, I mean that's way too easy. That's way too easy.
It's a good point actually, because you hear about it with like actors in other roles where they're like, you know, my character doesn't think he's the bad guy or doesn't know that he's like the antagonist of these other characters. The same with Clyde, and he's not thinking, you know, I'm a villain, I'm going to antagonize Topa and these other characters. He's just going off of his own. I mean, it's an excellent point. Sure.
I mean, that's our job. I mean, like I've prepared and played, you know, serial killers, right?
Right.
You know, like, or just like I was just preparing this role for something in you know, like if you look at like the show Dexter, right? I mean, you would look at, or you, this, I mean, I've played schizophrenic people before, and it's fascinating. But like, you know, or if you look at like an Iago, right? You know, like or you look at anybody that's like like that have like a, you know, like they lack the empathy gene. Like a lot of serial killers physically lack a gene in their physioanatomy and their genome makeup, where they lack the ability to empathize and feel what they're doing is wrong. They have their own system stuff going on. But as actors, right? It's not our job it's not my job to judge the character, because because I'm really only interested in fully three-dimensionalizing these characters. And then it's your job as an audience member to sort of place what my actions and what I'm doing in like the scope of right and wrong and all that stuff. You can't really fully, like, I mean, if you're playing somebody who doesn't think that, like, well, Jean Genet, like the French playwright, said the greatest tragedy in life is that every man has his reasons. And like, if you think about that for a second, like, everybody thinks they're fucking right. You know what I mean? Like everybody thinks that, like, you know what, like for the most part, right? So and if everybody thinks they're right, then what that's we're in for a world of hurt. But like a person who is a bad guy, you know what I mean? Like even like, I mean, I love playing bad guys. I love playing quote unquote bad guys, because it's like you really get into the psychology of undoing the notion of I'm doing something wrong, or that I'm doing something that everybody else thinks that's wrong, but I think it's right. Whatever. My point is that you know, when you as an actor, when you know it's not my job to judge the character while I'm playing the character. Now, like there's certainly a separation between, you know, like that's work and this is my, you know, but like I feel like they feed each other. Like the more the
Yeah.
more I investigate, like a truth, or like a universal truth, or
Mm.
like a, like something that like the more informs and my stance
Yeah.
on my own moral barometer, right? I mean, so
Mm.
and the more like stronger I feel like my moral barometer is, the more I'm able to just lean into like something that's completely far away from what I personally believe, in
Yeah.
order to really, the notion of the human experience is,
Mm.
it's that, we know when people are lying to us. We like,
Right.
we know there's a thing, or like, and either it's like,
Yeah.
I don't believe you, whether that's like, I don't like your show,
Mm.
uh, or I'm not going to lend you money because what I mean? It's like, we know when
Right.
it's, yeah, no, what you're telling me is not, you know what I
Mm.
mean?
I
So
mean, they even kind of lends itself to what you were saying before of like the whole thing of like knowing how to work the ship and kind of like, being authentic in
yeah,
that. I
yeah,
mean, kind of what you're saying, kind of
yeah,
that kind of similar concept. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, so um yeah, I mean, it's I mean, and it all, it's, I don't know, I don't know.
Mm.
Anyway, uh I tend to talk myself into like a corner a lot.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I
Yeah.
remember how I got here. How am I going to get out?"
Yeah.
But that's because I, actually need to go. But it's like my phone has been ringing up, like, because I,
Mm.
like the mishap with this project that I'm working on, that I didn't need to figure out how to solve. But
Mm.
I know, I won't jump off so abruptly. But I think I'm
Yeah.
being mindful of time, and then we missed out like a few minutes. But
Mm.
um, I'm just trying to think if there's, like anything
Yeah.
like coming to the surface of what to talk about. So feel free.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I suppose the saying this is like a bit of a backstory to it. This particular question, in that about a year or two ago, Mark Jackson did like an online Q&A, and I asked him a question, and his response was to ask you if I ever got to speak to you. I just
Oh wow.
obviously not knowing I did anything like this, he just said,
Hey.
"Well, like, ask Peter yourself," basically, or something to that effect, which was, so it was an episode where he was like out of the Isaac suit, and obviously because you're like in a similar thing where your real face is obscured. I said, do you think Peter would ever do like an episode where they're playing a different character, maybe as like where he looks like himself, or like some kind of plot reason why Bortus looks like a human? Like, would you ever,
I
yeah.
mean, I have no idea, and I think that would be, so I welcome the challenge. I think that'd be
Mm.
awesome, because I think that he did such a great job,
Yeah.
um, several times,
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
and then having to deal with like different sort of circumstances, like having to deal with like a romantic scene with Claire, and then like also a scene with, with Charlie, where they go to the biker bar, and like or maybe I
Yeah.
haven't seen that scene like yet, because like you guys, it
Mm.
airs a little bit later for you guys. So the Tale of Two Topos is the last one you saw.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the most recent one. Yeah.
Okay, so the next one you'll see, where Scott Grimes, oh my God, like it's such a great episode. I don't want to spoil
Oh,
anything for you. Like,
yeah. No, sorry. Yeah, no, yeah. I have seen that one, but I was getting my orders mixed up. Yeah, the
okay,
yeah. No, I got
yeah,
you. Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Well, but Isaac is like, goes into the biker bar, and he's like,
yeah.
Mark is like, I mean, I love Mark, and I know Mark,
Mm.
like, Mark says, I said, is like a, Shakespeare guy, theater guy, and
Mm.
he's still like, so to turn Isaac inside out,
Yeah,
what a great actor challenge. And I would love, that would be so fun to like, but I doubt that will happen, simply because
mm.
it's been done, right? We did that
Yeah.
with, we did that with Isaac. I don't,
Isaac. Yeah,
and the way that Seth's brain sort of works, I mean, it's like, no, that would
yeah.
be a
It's
lateral
mm.
move. You know what I mean? Like, I would
Yeah,
love to do it, don't get me wrong, but like, I feel like, I can't think of why that would be necessary. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I would love to see. I've pitched this to Seth a couple of times, where I'm like, I want to do an episode where it's kind of like Avenue Q, right? Where
Right.
it's and I would love to like work with like a puppet, like, or like an animation, like an episode that's animated, very much like what Family Guy does, where they like take on like these things. But
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
I have no question, no doubt about that. So
Yeah.
um,
I suppose obviously conscious you haven't got a lot of time, so I guess this is what I would end off with. And that's
okay.
like in a wider sense, like what would you like to accomplish with what's left of 2022? Like, career wise or just personally, like do you have any goals in mind for yourself?
Well, I wish I could talk about it, but yes, I do.
Mm,
So like when we talk next, I can share with you what's happening. But yeah,
mm,
there's a lot on my plate, um,
yeah.
personally and with my career, which I'm very, very grateful for.
Mm,
So what I'm hoping to accomplish is like a very a zen filled like equilibrium with
mm,
everything that's going on. Just to like and have a good time.
yeah.
Like I'm always like stay up at night a lot. Like I'm the person that walks around my house and
Mm.
I watch my family sleep. As creepy as that sounds,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like the last to go to bed, and I'm just like, God, I just want the world to be good for them, you know,
Mm,
and,
yeah.
and to have my young men grow to be men, you know what I
Mm,
mean? And
yeah.
yeah, I mean, just like that's sort of a thing of just like, like I'm kind of always like we always play these games, and like yesterday in the car, they like my 6-year-old was like, "Who's the strict parent?" And I was like, "Mommy," and they were like, "Daddy," and I'm like, "Oh man, I thought I was the fun guy."
Oh,
You know what I mean?
man.
You
They
know,
got you. They got you.
yeah, I'm totally bad cop in the family, but
Mm,
only because I'm just like I just worry so much about
yeah.
like the world, like buffering them from, like maintaining their innocence as much as possible, but at the same time not making them oblivious
Mm,
to the world around them. And so yeah, I mean, and then work wise, I have like this thing on that's cooking on the stove right now, and
mm,
that I told my wife like weeks ago. I was like, I would love to be a part of this thing, because I think, just telling somebody the other day about you have to reinvent yourself. Or no,
yeah.
I was talking to you about that, about Seth.
Oh, right. Oh,
Reinventing
yeah.
yourself. But I'm kind of
Yeah.
always having this conversation, so forgive me.
Yeah.
But
That's all right.
yeah, like, I mean, just like it's an opportunity to reinvent and retool, like my toolbox, like my as an
Yeah.
actor craft, so I'm very excited about where that is. It's just unfortunately a lot of moving parts, um, that 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 have to go together before I'm able to, to just simply do my work.
Yeah.
So that's kind of part of uh what it means to be an actor, is like there's a lot of, sort of the hurry up and wait for, phenomenon, or like
Mm,
just like you got to be really patient and be ready,
yeah.
so you don't have to get ready, kind of thing, or just maintaining a certain level of joy and consciousness, even though, things really, I feel things, like
Mm,
on a deep level. So but yeah, that's what's happening. I hope that this film that I, shot will do well.
mm,
It's called Shelter and Solitude. And Google that, and
mm.
it's vastly, and it's like, it's vastly different than Bortus, right? You know what I
Right.
mean? So
Yeah.
that'll be fun to see that, and wow, because hopefully it'll be out at the same time. I think
Mm,
it's supposed to be released very soon, and I think it'll be out at the same time that, the shows are still running, and so
yeah.
that'll be, it's kind of nice to have that, variety
Mm.
thing. But yeah,
I
man.
suppose that's kind of the point of being an actor, right? Kind of want to play different
Yeah,
parts and not
yeah.
just be
What a
pigeonholed in one thing. Yeah.
no, that's not the job. you know. So I mean, it would be kind of neat to see like these different aspects of myself played out, you know. So
Yeah.
Yeah, so like do let me know when this is, I'm or just send me a link or something, and
Yeah, I'll be in touch. Yeah. Yeah.
do reach out again once all the Orvilles have all the Orvilles have aired,
Yeah,
and we'll set something up again and chat again.
for
Yeah, of
sure. Absolutely. Well, I mean, obviously, thanks again for taking the time to speak with me
course,
today, and
of course.
all the best with everything you've mentioned, and take care and stay safe.
Thank you, you too.